a new normal, a new normal. We talked last week, we started off last week with what is normal? What is normal? If I gave everybody in here tonight and everybody watching by way of the virtual world, I promise you we'll get 50 different new normal, what normal is for us. What is normal? We asked this question last week and we said normal is a rhythm, or a normal could be a way of life. It could be a habit. Normal is the same until you decide that you need a new normal. In other words, it's the same thing you do day in and day out until you realize I'm tired of doing what I'm doing day in and day out. Or I'm tired of the friends I have day in and day out. I'm not getting anywhere with them. I'm losing traction. It seems like the people I'm hanging with, it seems like everybody going through hell. I need a new normal. I need to go and self-assess myself, Elder, to see what it is I really need and where I need to be. A lot of people don't like the truth, so they never look at themselves. A lot of people like to hang around other people that embrace the same norm they do. Because with people who's in the same circle and these people looking at the same norm, you never have no friction. You never have no irritation. You never have no scratching because y'all all doing the same thing. You all are accustomed to the same climate and the same culture. Is happening very prevalently with our race. Our race has become lethargic and we're losing ground because we haven't shifted our normal. We're still talking about what happened back in the 60s and still parading and thanking God for the Dr. Kings, the Malcolm X's, the Al Yendes, and those were great people. And they are still great people. But if you went to heaven and talked to them, they'll say, I'm extremely disappointed that you're still living on my dream and you're not furthering it. If you ask a person about their children, one of the things they will say is, I want my child to be better than me. I want my child to live a better life. I want them to experience things I never experienced. I want them to go into a realm that I never could get into. That's what we want. Well, the same thing holds true with God as we are his children. He is our Father. He wants better for you, but you won't allow better to come. Better knocks at your door, but you won't open the door. You have succumbed to yourself. We have lost total sight of prioritizing. We prioritize in the way that our flesh wants us to prioritize. We don't prioritize in the way that God wants us to prioritize because it costs something. It costs you to have to get up and pray when you're tired. Or it costs you after you take a shower and all the only thing you're thinking about is bed. You overlook God. You hurdle over God to get to the bed and sleep in a bed that he's covering you in. We don't like new normal. We don't like when things come out. We don't like fasting. We don't like praying. We don't like fasting. We do it out of obligation instead of saying, I'm going to utilize this time as a tool to change my life. This fast, this time is going to change my life because it's going to change my habits. My habits are going to change because of what I exercise. The things I do the most, the things I do most frequently, if I change those, I change me. Not talk about them, Dean, but change. Change isn't change until it's changed. But we don't like new normal. We like where we are, but we like to pronounce or verbalize where we see ourselves going. And you need to stop lying to yourself, knowing that I'm not doing nothing to get there. You can tell everybody your dream and totally skip the vision. That's deep. We don't do that with the norm because we don't like to sweat and we don't like to go in deep waters, but you catch the mackerel in the deep. Anybody can catch perch or crappie in the shadow. I can stand on the bank. That's a cheap fish. But when I want a good fish where I can put a big fish on the table and everybody down off of it, I got to go out in the deep and work. I got to use my faith when I toss this bait out there, I got to make sure that I'm ready for when it bites, I got to be ready to snatch. Or it'll take my bait and leave me hopeless. But the same thing holds true in life. What we're saying in Proverbs, it's the same thing that holds true in life. We can't be afraid to launch from the deep. We have to look at ourselves tonight and say, there's a business in me. I just refuse to birth it. I know there's a business in me. I know I'm good at what I do. And God said, yeah, but I'm waiting on you to get great because I really got bigger venues for you, but you like just cooking what you cook. You haven't looked and said, when I shift you over to cooking for other cultures, will you feel comfortable with them? Or are you going to stay in this wagon and only cook for our people? How big is your vision? What's your new norm? Because we all go out and make all these New Year's resolutions. We say them and we write them down and we put a sticky elder tench on the wall and we look at them for 7 days straight. And the next time we see it is in the month of March when it's messing up the decoration in the room, and you tear it down and then you forget about it. We do great on a fast and we lose some weight, and this time you were disciplined most of the time and you lost a little weight and you feel great, but after the fast, you go right back to doing what you were doing prior to the fast. How do you get back? What did you learn during the fast? Are you really intentional about getting closer to God? Because God loves to show his kids off. But he shows them off the most in time of trials, in valley experiences, when it seems like the whole world is against you. He look and say, keep fighting because I'm more to you than the world against you. But if you don't have nobody to fight, we can never say it. It's easy to say these things. It's easy to quote scriptures. It's easy to talk about perspective. It's hard to live it. It's so hard to try to be right. Your flesh is a dangerous thing. It's hard to be right. It's easy to make excuse. It's so easy. Anybody can make excuse and make themselves feel better about their excuse. You have some people plan the night before a lie or a fabrication why they ain't going to go to work tomorrow. They have already assumed that God's going to wake them up the next morning. Don't put him nowhere in the prayer. And then, oh, yeah, this sounds good. Call a girlfriend. Girl, how this sound? I woke up and I couldn't walk. Arthritis has gotten me. And they said, girl, that sounds convincing. That's what I'm going to say. I ain't going to call them. I'm going to text and say I couldn't even get out of bed. We go and pre-plan failure. We pre-plan detriment. We pre-plan darkness. You know before you go to bed that night tomorrow, you have already anticipated sinning. And you never let the thought of God looking at you determine your thought process or turn you around. I said, I can't do that. I knew I was being saved for real, not when I was an elder in the church, not when I first got baptized, when I can put that liquor bottle down. I was at the house. Sister Barry, I wasn't at the church at the altar when I had this altercation. I was at home and my little daughter was the witness. And Morgan sat on them steps and I was down there on Saturday, the house clean. My wife was at work. I'm up there and I said, okay, everything good. I'm going to go ahead and get me a stiff one and sit down here and watch football. Girls will stay upstairs and play. It was getting late in the evening. I was preparing for church. I know that seems ironic. But I had communion on Saturday. Don't trip. I know some of y'all been doing that too. You didn't do it these last 3 weeks because we was on the fast, but you've done that before on Saturday. Went out there and had you a couple because your friends say it's okay. But when I saw her and I pulled it and it was perfect. Everything was just right, measured to the T. And I look at the steps and she's just sitting there. Scared me to death. She never said a word. She just looked at me and I just poured it out. I didn't need no instructions. The Holy Ghost was leading me. It was convicting me at that time. Stop playing with me is what it said. Hold it out, wash the glass out, and I was getting ready to pour the alcohol out. And I said, nope. I'll put this in this cabinet to prove to myself that I don't have to run from my problem, that I can overcome it. I was ready for a new normal in my life. And when I started making that turn, I lost a lot of friends. I didn't lose them. God just started cutting them away. We just weren't going the same direction. Still love them to this day, and we talk every now and then. But they know the conversation's different. They know now that the conversation deals strictly with God, family, pensions, taxes, college funding, and all that kind of stuff. All that good conversation that good people like to talk about. Not no going to the club. Did you see this on social media? I don't even get on social media. I don't really get on social media. If I'm watching social media, my wife have to show me some. LaTanya called and asked, her and Sarah, because they run the social media. Pastor, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this subject matter here? Such and such. I don't even, because all it do, if you're not careful, it lures you. And social media will lure you to a new normal you didn't write down. And now every day you're watching something on Facebook. I see people on Facebook and don't even come to church. I hear people call me, Pastor, what's wrong with so-and-so? I don't know. They say they sick. They on Facebook every day. I can't answer that, baby. We're just going to keep praying for them. Because what we don't realize is Satan will make you look stupid because they'll have an excuse as to why. I'll be wondering, how do people get recharged? You can't even move to the new normal because you stuck on self. So your selfishness has caused you to lose ground on what God really has for you. So a lot of people never reach their purpose. They never reach their purpose. We talked last week about 8.1 billion people living on earth. That's a lot of people with their own normal. And we talked about cultures and what culture looks like and how the Japanese, their culture is that they accept slurping when they eat. They accept slurping when they eat. All those noodles, they accept it. Now, you do that over here, depending on how your mommy is, you might get the taste slapped out your mouth. After they tell you one time, baby, you can't, we don't do that in this house. That's uncouth. And you keep doing it and say, well, the Japanese did it. Mama going to let you know this is not Japan. This is the great U.S. of A. Then she's going to break it to the least common denominator and say, anyway, this is my house. That's what my normal is. We don't do that in here. But in Japan, it's accepted. We talked last week about Nigerians, how they kneel when they greet people. We shake hands or hug people when we see them. A lot of cultures don't touch when they do it. But we hug and we do all that when we seeing people. But they kneel. There are a lot of different things go with a lot of different cultures. That's their norm. And for us in the United States, it's not ours, so we do not embrace it. It goes even farther in the church. We all say we serve God, but we have different norms depending on the denomination. We have some denominations in the church where their norm is women don't wear nothing but dresses in the church, and they better be below their knees. That's their norm. Some denominations have it where their norm is no woman sit in the pulpit. That's their norm. We have some norms where the deacons run the church. There's a lot of different norms in these cultures. Most of the African American denominations came from the splitting of one denomination when two people started to disagree. This person took these people here, these people took. It all started in the AME church. One culture. And then it started dividing. because some people looking for a new norm. But we serve a God that never changed. It's amazing how this thing, when you really start to look at this thing, you start to wonder, how is it that we've gotten this far with God? Why? God has to be spectacular because God has never quit on us. Because many times we're chasing our tail. We'll read the word, but we don't live it. We'll pray, but they're vain prayers. We talked last Sunday about vainglory, how a lot of people have vainglory. How a lot of people won't go to a church unless they can get touched by the pastor, or they can't go to a church unless it's 10,000 people there. They say that's what the anointing is. The Bible tells me different. The Bible says it's different. Well, most of the people, that's where a lot of itchy ears are. And a form of godliness in a lot of those places, not the pastor necessarily, but people. Numbers doesn't make it. If that was the case, Jesus' 12 disciples would have been multiplied greater. His inner circle was 12 because he had to help change their normal. He had to make sure that their normal was shifting if they're going to represent him. And that's what I'm trying to get us to see. If you're going to truly walk with Christ, your normal has to change. Your excuses have to become totally evaporated. Your mindset has to change. It has to be renewed. A lot of people go to church, but mindset ain't never renewed. They're in the same stature they were 5 years ago because they've never allowed their mind to be renewed because they fear success. A lot of people don't reach out, Sister Michelle, because they are afraid of success. They're afraid of what success looks like. Our culture at this point, this very night, is afraid of success. Our culture don't do anything together except smoke and go to concerts. That's what we do as a culture now. There used to be a time, when everybody, you didn't even have to tell the kids to get up to church on Sunday. Everybody going to church. The daddy might not go, but mama got everybody, all them kids going to church. How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? You're going to church on Sunday. It wasn't even up for discussion. Now the kids go out Saturday night. By the time you go into church, they're coming home. And what are they doing? Racing, spinning downtown, shooting each other, smoking weed. Nothing positive. Why can we as a culture have a new normal? I was talking to my wife coming. 98% of our economy, of our finances in our community go right back out the community. 98%, man, and we wonder why we are like we are. It's because we don't put nothing into each other. We have no substance. We have no reason for intercessory anything with our neighbors. All we do is worry about self, and we want to brag on what we got, and it depreciates. I don't care what it is. The houses aren't what they're. You would never own that house because you're going to always pay taxes on your land. So you would never own it. The government, listen, the Constitution wasn't written for us. It wasn't. We have to make our norm. Anytime we forge forward as a culture, it took fighting. It took people coming together. But we don't do that. Families don't even get along no more. Families don't even get along. Brothers and sisters in the family don't even get along no more. 98% of our finances go out of our community, which means that we have 2% of our finances in our community. What can we do with 2% of our finances? Well, let me see. We can have a bunch of grease spots that we eat at, run by Asians. If you're dealing in hair products, if you're dealing with Dairy Queen, it's Asians. We'll own a couple of wing spots. The Chick-fil-A's, we know what they own by. But we never think that we're stronger together. So if 2% is what we have, 98% is going out, which means that every other culture is starting out with 198% to put in their people, and we only have 2. Somebody gonna get this. I might have to go to Harlem to preach this, but somebody gonna get it. Because it's the truth. But I'm learning more and more the older I get that our people don't like the truth. Our people like comfort. Our people love comfort, and when you tell them the truth, they can't differentiate, but that's love. They trying to help me. They look at that as, who you think you are? They look at that as conflict. And you're like, I'm just trying to help you. Because the day gonna come, you're gonna need help. You're gonna need help at some point. But you're gonna stay in that cesspool or that norm that you've been in, that your mother was in and your aunt was in. You're gonna stay in that same cesspool. Because you don't want to listen to anybody. 2%. 2% is all that we have in our communities. Look at the graduation ratio. Look at how many girls are getting pregnant in our community. How many abortions were coming up? I don't know what they're doing now. Republicans stopped all that. But look at what's going on. Children raising children. Mama keeping a 12-year-old, you keep the kids, so I'll be back. Don't open that door for nobody. And that's fine if mama going to work, but mama going out to have a good time. So the kids see that. So that's what the kids ingest, and that's what a kid wants to do. The days of big mamas are gone. The days of big mamas are gone. When big mama, you can always take the kids to big mama house. Everybody loved going to big mama house. Big mama always had cake and pie ready, and she always had a lot of food. Always, and she could feed everybody. She loved cooking and all, and she'll take care of the kids, and you can get out and get your little breather, but big mamas are gone. Big mama these days in their 40s. They're not in the 60s no more like when we were coming up, 60s and 70s. They 35 and 40. It's tough trying to get somewhere and don't drag a new normal with you. You'll take the same filibuster mess, the things that cause you to become subliminal to success. You'll drag those things with you. Make sure if you got somebody in your life, make sure they can help you get to where you're going. If you're the one that's doing everything, you need to pray to God and say, give me the strength to keep climbing and go ahead and cut this umbilical cord we don't make, because I can do bad by myself. I'm reading now that all I'm doing is you making them more heavy laden on me. I'm carrying me and you. Now that's different if somebody, has a disability or a low IQ or MRK or somebody like that. That's fine. No, help them. Help them as much as you can. But people who can do, quit hindering. You're handicapping them. You're handicapping them. They could never learn their new norm because they're going to always feed off of you like a goldfish waiting to be fed. A goldfish can't hunt. They have to be fed. They're not predators. Just like little puppies. Little puppies can't hunt. They what they say, I think Shaquille O'Neal said this. He said, the difference between a pet dog and a Rottweiler or a predator dog is dogs, regular dogs, you rub. You pet those dogs. But killers, Rottweilers, and pit bulls, you don't pet them. You irritate them. Because in your irritating them, it reminds them of who they are. So they always stay on point. They always stay a little mad, always have a little aggression to them. What we want to do is make grown people puppies. We want to rub them out and take care of them. You're not getting points from God for taking care of them. Now, the widow woman, yes. But not grown people who can do. You are hurting them. What you've done, you've gotten in God's way and trying to be the God for them. And all they do is cause them, Dean, to become complacent. It caused them to quit easier. It caused them to stop forward thinking. I'm all off content tonight because this got me when I was coming to church. But it's the truth. If we as a people gonna do better, we have to make up in our mind that our new normal has to look different. It has to look different. I can't be afraid of who I'm gonna lose along the way. God wants us to be lean and mean. He wants us to be lean and mean. And it's gonna be sad. You can't take nobody to heaven with you. It's gonna be hard to get in on your own. So all you can do is pray for people and keep moving. The reason I know that is because who Jesus took with him? He left instructions for the disciples, but he ascended by himself. Because if he would have took somebody with him, it would have took away the whole oracle and the law of what his dad said. That in the end, all of us shall go before the throne of judgment, one by one. So he had to go back one by one. He had to go back by himself to keep with the oracles of God. It's amazing, man. This new normal is serious. Listen, something's going to happen big soon enough. We got too many people hate this country. We've bullied too many people. There's something going to happen. It might not destroy this whole company, this whole country, but it's going to get a lot of people. How do you think COVID got here? From pigs? How do you think it got here? This country has always been about maintaining population, maintaining culture. So every so many years, there's a big world war, or there's a plague that go on somewhere in the world to go ahead and make sure that they can continue to keep the culture divided. They don't have to do that with us because we do it for ourselves. We keep our culture divided because we kill each other. We fight the struggle by ourselves because we refuse to come together. You know why people have always tried to knock down our culture? Because they've seen what happens when we come together. When we come together, there's nothing can stop our culture. The problem is we don't like to come together because envy, jealousy, and strife get in the way. And you don't want to see somebody else do a little bit better than you at that point, not realizing that they're going to have to carry a lot bigger load. You don't want to come and say, hey, I just will be there with you. When Dr. King was walking, yeah, he was the front person, but you saw a line going both sides of him. And all those guys who was up front with him, all of them had responsibility. One of the closest things to God I've ever seen. Because God did the same thing with man. Dr. King kept things the same way as God. They did. Jesus came along and did the same thing that God did. He put the responsibility on man. Put the responsibility on man. God first put the responsibility on Adam. Yeah, he did. And I know, quit having a debate about Adam and Eve. God set all that straight. When God came back down there in the cool of the day after they had ate the fruit, who he called? Adam, where art thou? Never said nothing about Eve. Never said anything about Eve. You look over in Exodus, I think it's chapter 33 and 50 some verse in there, when God is talking to the men, and he had brought all the men out of Jerusalem, and he said, listen, if you get yourselves in order, I'll spare the land. He didn't call the women. When he said Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he never said Sarah, Ruth, and Rebekah. The men don't want to have a new norm. The men don't want to take care of their household. The men don't want to help the wife. They want to use the wife as a sex bag and a cook. And then tell her, by the way, you're going to work and bring half too. We're going to go half on the rent. That's all we are, glorified roommates? What constitutes me being your wife? Here, get your ring back. We'll cut everything down the middle. I mean, really, when you think about new norm, a new norm would be one of the expectations that God has given us. Men taking responsibility. Man taking responsibility. When he told Abraham to take your son Isaac, he said, go early in the morning. Never said nothing about his wife, Sarah. The responsibility is on the men, yet we have fewer men in church today than ever before. We got some males in there. We got some in there that want to be with the females. God never intended that. I don't care what they say, and I was born like that. You know, when they say that, I tell them, I say, yeah, I saw the boy who was lame, who had the demon in him. Dad said he'd been like that since he was a baby. He had it in him, but it was cast out. It was cast out. I seen a blind man, blind Bartimaeus, had been blind at that pool of Bethesda forever. They prayed it out. So it can be prayed out of you too. You got to want a new norm. You got to want to be different. You got to be tired of living like you're living. You got to be tired of living like you're living. A new norm, a better than norm. I'm above average type of person is what you have to say. Money. Money is one of the things that handicaps us. It cripples us. It disdains us. It blinds us. It sends us in a direction that we really don't want to go. We always chasing money, never chasing God. For the love of money, yeah, the love of money is the root to all evil. Money can be the answer to all our problems, but the love of money is the root to all evil. The world is full of things competing for our attention. Somebody say amen. The world is full of things that's competing for our attention. Everywhere we look, we see things that seem to call out us and say things like this: buy me. You need me. How many know what I'm talking about? Have y'all ever had that? It talk to you. You online shopping and know you got other stuff to do. You wasting time looking at stuff you can't afford, and you're going to try to make a way out of no way and put God on the spot for a miracle. God, you know my heart. God said, yes, and I know my principles. I know my principles. You watch it, and you don't realize, the more you look at this stuff, a spirit invites itself in. This is the most amazing thing. The next thing you know, you'll hear somebody at the door. Yeah, and they don't stay long. They don't want to meet you. They just want to drop off. And by the time you answer the door, you look that, boom, it's a package. And then you see them at the truck. It's a spirit. We're so busy looking at items to put our money out our culture, out of our community, until we don't realize that most things we buy, we really can't afford. We buy them because we like them and we tell ourselves we deserve them. No, what I deserve is to make sure that I have enough knowledge and enough wisdom to save for a rainy day. Because those days will come. A new normal. There's a quote that says, don't tell me where your priorities are. Show me where you spend your money, and I'll tell you what you are. Let me read that again, because that might be where you need to go and post that in your room up there where the refrigerator is in the lounge where y'all do lunch at the job. Don't tell me where your priorities are. Show me where you spend your money, and I'll tell you what you are. You don't have to have people tell you what you are, elder. You know, I always tell people, let me see your checkbook. Oh, I don't write checks. Okay, well, let me see your credit card bill. Let me see your credit card bill. Well, I just had to get this. Quit lying. You didn't have to get this. You just wanted this. This thing started, as I said earlier, it started away. Buy me. You need me. Yeah, you need me. It talks to you. Now, tell you, how many of y'all seen that thing on you're online and it talk to you? That thing talk, oh, that sweater, oh, that person. For those of y'all who married, now y'all go a step further. Y'all try to figure out how I'm going to get it and then where I'm going to hide it. How am I going to, exactly, that's the lie that come out, the fabricate. And they say it like you're drinking sweet tea on a Sunday after eating a 2-piece from Church's. I've been had this. What? I've been had this. How do you been had this? Well, it was down there in the garage. Why you put that in the garage? And then you notice and you just see more boxes and more boxes. And it's sad because the person that's in the nucleus don't even realize there's a spirit on them. Serious. I'm serious, Dean. This is a real message now. You are not a new norm. You're enhancing the old you. But you want new results. What causes you to become earthly bipolar. I want different, but I ain't willing to do it. I want Christ, but I'm not willing to sacrifice. I want to know more about God, but I refuse to read. How do we get better? How do we get to a new norm when you won't even save money? I mean, really. You don't have to raise your hand. I wouldn't dare ask you to do that, but I will ask you to allow this to saturate. Do you save money? I'm not talking about, okay, I got the light bill money over here, the gas bill money. I got that kind. No, I'm talking about money over here that you don't touch. I don't care what concert they're going to, that money doesn't get touched. How many of y'all have been there? You had some money saved, but that concert would come and you had to go. Yeah, thank you, baby. It's a shame the people that raised their hand, my family. I have to pray too. But it's the truth. There's some more people in here that raised their hand. It might not have been a concert, but it was something that you had money put aside yourself and to start saving, and you saw something, I got to get it. Okay. We got a couple other people raising their hand. Now, I got to have these shoes. Baby, you got 50 pounds. No, but not like these. And then they'll come back and tell us this right here, Sister Bear, because I know you ain't never did this. They come back and tell us this. You just don't understand. And I always say, I don't want to understand. Then I get up under that umbrella and that curse with you, and then I'll be out there buying, and now everything's a mark. We all have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. And in this community that I'm talking about, that I'm going to stay on for the next couple of weeks, we don't understand that savings is a commitment, not an amount. When you're saving, it's not the amount, it's the commitment to what you're saving. If you look at it that way, things can appear differently. Then you can start growing something. But you can't save and eat out every day. Now, I mean, if you got that kind of money, true, that's cool, and you're still saving. But if you don't have that kind of money, you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice, because at some point that stove gonna go out, some point that washer machine gonna start slipping, at some point your hot water heater gonna be damaged, at some point something that you have no control over is gonna take place. And you're gonna need that money. And when you don't have it, don't blame it on the amount, blame it on your inability to be committed. I knew it and I said it. I just didn't do it. I talk about me and my wife all the time because I hope it helps y'all. She don't care. But we said the same thing about our children going to college. If we would have did what we said when our children were 10 to 12 years old, they would have been set. But you know what we kept saying? We kept putting other things in front. Ooh, oh, how much we got in there? Baby, we got about $800. Get 5 of that out. Why? Just get it out. We're going to set you. So we deserve this. We weren't committed, Sister Michelle. We were not committed. We were too immature, and it didn't mean enough to us. We didn't want a new normal. We wanted to stay where we were, but enjoy all the benefits. And that's where we are. We learned as we went with Morgan, and so we were better off for Sarah. But we caught it with Morgan. I about lost my religion 3 times with Morgan. Not with her, but the bursar's office. The financial aid people. My wife come back. Rita, this all we got. The lady told me, we glad you got this. You make too much money. She said it was a blessing. What? It was tough. My wife had went and tried to get food stamps. It was tough, Sister Barry. This is why you go to the church. It was tough. We wanted to live the way we wanted to live, but wanted to have what we needed to have. And we didn't have them type of finances. My wife sneaks down to the defects office and goes down there, fill out the application, and you have to put all your spouse information on there. She goes in there, and the lady look at her, and she just ain't did nothing wrong. If all these other people can get food stamps, then I can too. And the lady come back out and call in the back. She say, Miss Wynn, why are you here? She say, I came to see if I can get some assistance. My daughter's in college and we paying all that money. She say, I know your husband. God got away. She say, I know your husband. He works at the state office. Mr. Wynn, everybody know Mr. Wynn. Her lady was like, oh, your husband make way too much money. You should be embarrassed being down here. She was like, I'm embarrassed I didn't get it. It was true. She was looking for a new normal without looking back at the process or looking back at how we had been living. True story. When you get ready to go to a new normal, make sure you understand your past because it will come back to haunt you. But you can't let it stop you. Our daughter went on to college and we found a way. My wife became a great cook. Man, she can do some stuff with a little bit of nothing. And to this day, because of that, I have great habits. I love to eat at home. I really do because of our norm. Where you are now doesn't have any bearing on where you're going. Where you are now is exactly what it is, where I am today. But tomorrow brings with it brand new mercies and brand new grace, which means that I have an opportunity tomorrow to be a better me and be on my journey to a new normal. I don't have to claim this illness anymore. I don't have to be in poverty no more. My mental status will change. Not tomorrow when I wake up, but tonight before I go to bed. So when I wake up in the morning, my whole spirit is saturated with a new dawning. That's where we're going with this. A new normal. We will not let possessions lure us into strongholds. We won't do that. We will make sure that we have a financial radar that's strong enough to keep me where I need to be. Whether that's your husband or your wife or a dependable friend, somebody that you trust enough to tell you when you're wrong, you're slipping, you're spending too much. Why are you calling me? We say we're going out twice a month. We just went out last week. Why are you calling me this week? If you ain't calling to talk, then I'm finna go because I'm not going out with you. Because now I'm going against your vision. And a true friend don't want to go against, they want to help you with. So we have to make sure that new normal comes with a price. We'll talk more about Peter next week on his new normal and the price he had to pay. We'll talk more next week about some of the things that come with financial situations and new normal. And I'm going to stay on our culture for the duration of this series. Because until we become intentional, we're going to continue to go in circles. And all the great people before us, their living was in vain. Because somebody got to pick up the torch and keep moving. Somebody got to be the person that knocked down doors, go places where we haven't gone, and get in positions where we can hire other people that's like us. Put our kids in some educational situations where they can meet other people and get a new circle. Because education is great, but who you know is better. Who you know gets you the jobs. Who you know gets you in circles. Who you know don't even really look at your paperwork when you need a loan. Ask me how I know. It's happened for me. People talk about going to PWIs. It's helped me. It has helped me to become diversified and to know a lot of people in different places. It's good to have friends that are presidents of banks. You don't go to the tailor, you don't go to the loan officer. You talk to him on the phone and laugh, and then he just say, okay, send the information to me when you want to come get it. True story. True story. Your new normal, I promise you, will take you into higher heights. I promise you, it will take you into realms with people you never imagined you would be around. It will take you to places where at one time you feared, but you're going now fearless. You're going ferociously into these circles now. Because it's not only going to help you, it's going to help those coming behind you. That's what they say. It's not what you know, it's who you know, elder. Think about all the people you know. And what all they do, there's benefits to going into a new normal. There's benefits to going to a university where it ain't but 6,000 blacks. And you said, that's a lot of kids until you find out it's 35,000 whites. That's including kids in the grad school. But then you get out and realize, I met a lot of good people. It has helped me. It has opened doors for me that probably wouldn't have been open. But I wasn't afraid of that new norm. I learned to embrace it. I challenge you tonight. When you go home tonight, block everything and everybody else out. Look at yourself, whether you're in the shower, in the bathroom, eating dinner or whatever, and ask yourself, what do I really want to be? Have I cheated myself in life? Have I been down so long I ain't even tried to get up? Have I allowed my resume to decide where I go? Or am I a new creature? Well, old things are passed away, and behold, all things have become new. What do you want to be? What does your new normal look like? I'll leave that between you and God. Every head bow.
You've just had an experience with champions, and we are so glad that you tuned in today. Let's continue to honor God through our commitment to give. There are 4 ways to give. You can give online via Cash App at $Champions for Christ. Next, you can give online at www.championsforchristim.org. Lastly, you can give during service or on our mobile app available in the Apple and Google Play stores. Please be sure to tune in each and every week to our online broadcast. Encourage others to tune in with you. Remember, we are champions because we are champions for Christ.